You know, you don't have just two choices anymore. There are a lot of other parties out there besides Republicans and Democrats. To meet a few of those on the ticket for United States Senate from the great state of Colorado, a friend of mine, Lily Tang Williams. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, John.
What makes you a libertarian? Why do you want to do that? Why aren't you a Republican, like a respectable young lady?
I was Republican for many years, and I gave that up because they lost credibility on limited government. I can no longer run as a Republican. I'm a big believer in freedom. By growing up in communist China, that's what I'm afraid of most is unlimited, super powerful government called tyranny.
You can't say the Republicans are like a communist party.
No, they're not, but they're supposed to be for limited government, but they're not. They're for crony capitalism now. They're for big government when it's good for themselves and they're cronies. I just cannot believe that anymore. I cannot do it. I have to stay true to my own principles, conventions. What brought me to this country is a free country. It's a constitutional republic. I cannot do otherwise.
And if that's not to your liking, we have green parties on there as well. Arn Menconi. Menconi, I was close. Menconi. All right, why aren't you a Democrat? Why a Green? I thought the Democrats just absorbed all the Greens.
John, I was a Democrat for some 20, 30 years. I was also a Republican in college, and I voted Libertarian. But right now, this is a historic election. I'm a Green Party candidate because I'm an anti-war candidate. I'm an anti-war activist. I want to stop global warming. I want to stop the acceleration of the inequality gap and racial injustice. There's only a two-party system in this country, the inside party and the outside party. We're run by a global corporate mafia, as I call it. It's all about the billions of dollars, follow where the money is going, and that's who's running our country.
All right, so both of you were in the two parties. We had a Republican, you were a registered Democrat at one time, is that right?
I also served for 8 years as an Eagle County Commissioner.
All right, so both of you seem like you feel the system is broken and that these outside parties will give us more choices. Do I have to be the one to break it and tell you that you guys aren't going to win? I mean, we seem to gravitate to these two parties. Do you believe that either one of you have a shot of beating Michael Bennet or Darrell Glenn to this seat? Or is this a protest in hopes of changing things in future elections? Let me ask you first.
Well, I might have a better chance to beat Michael Bennet than Darrell Glenn. He's so behind with major party support and fundraiser. I'm doing that along with my volunteers' help because I'm a libertarian. Most Americans are libertarian in heart. They're not either too far left or too far right. And so if I have equal press and get into polls, get into debate, American voters, Colorado people will like my messages. I'm also the only woman and first immigrant from PRC runs for Senate, and I got great compelling story growing up under communism and under tyranny. Who would not love to hear American dream story? I'm living American dream now by coming to this country with nothing, with negative beginnings to now running for U.S. Senate.
What gives you the advantage over somebody like Darrell Glenn, who won at the caucuses, won at the convention, won on the primary day without much money?
Well, look at his voting record. People who has served as a public servant for 13 years has a record. Look at meeting minutes. His voting record is not so-called a constitutional conservative record. I think I'm more constitutionalist than him. And plus, I'm a libertarian on social issues. I want to leave people alone to do whatever they want if they do not infringe other people's rights. And, you know, from China to here, being libertarian, it took me 20 years of awakening and self-reflection, searching for truth. So I feel like that's what I believe about is libertarianism. Leave me alone if I'm not taking your stuff and hurting you.
Let me ask you the same sort of question.
Yeah.
Are you doing this to further a cause in hopes that the Green Party builds into a party, or are you playing to win?
There's a couple things here. One is I'm a father first, and my children are not going to grow up with endless wars. They're not going to grow up with global warming and the other things I listed. I campaigned for Michael Bennet 6 years ago, or 8 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And I've also campaigned for Barack Obama. Now, I cried when Barack Obama got elected the first time. I was happy when he beat Romney, and now I don't believe anything he says, Hillary Clinton says, or anyone who is representing the top 1%.
Why is that? Tell me that.
Well, look, you've said this many times on your show, and we all know this. People under the age of 40 don't even, they mostly lean towards socialism. They believe the system is broken. The next generation knows that the system is rigged. They don't want to vote for politicians who are taking tens of millions of dollars from oil and gas people, from the military industry, from lobbyists. Michael Bennet gets 80% of his money from outside of the state. Michael Bennet is more or less will not support or come out against the TPP, which would say to me he's in favor of it. Most people are against it. He won't go against fracking. So what Coloradans, when I travel around the state, are saying is, we want him out. We don't want another established candidate in there. And as Lily was just pointing out, look at how fast we've been rising in the polls. 40% of Americans don't even know that Joe Biden is their vice president. You know,
Joe Biden doesn't even know he's the vice president.
So after Labor Day, people are going to start to get turned on to who is running. Lily and I are about to announce a tour of college campuses where we're going to do a forum, and we're going to get out there, and it's called the Freedom of Choice Tour. People, what's happening to us is this sort of political bigotry that's going on with the media where we're not getting the airtime. I don't need $12 million to run a campaign. I have hundreds of volunteers. You need 600,000 votes in the state of Colorado. That's less than becoming mayor in Chicago. With 600,000 votes, and as we've tried to point out many times to the press, a third is 1.4 is independent. 50% of them are under the age of 40. They're not looking to vote R or D. So,
but how did you not know this 6 years ago when you worked and supported Michael Bennet?
6 years ago, in 2011, Occupy Wall Street put on the map the class war that we're in right now, and the 99% not being represented. Then the Black Lives Matter movement, the raise the minimum wage. When I was an Eagle County Commissioner, if I started talking about those type of things, I would have been, even though people did call me this, I would have been called a communist, all right? Now I'm catching up to where the American people are, where the people in Colorado are. Our candidates, our politicians are out of touch with their citizens because they're spending 5 hours a day collecting money. Look, I lived up in Vail for 25 years. I live near Aspen. I've been to all the wine and cheese parties where it costs $10,000 to get in order to shake their hand or whatever. I know what they're doing. You know, they come out, they see the people at the library, they talk, they do their little shuck and jive, and then they run off and go try to get the big check dollars. And they're not, look at what, it doesn't matter if it's Cory Gardner or if it's Michael Bennet. They're representing the corporate elite.
Let's talk polls. Lily, you told me before we ran tape here that Gary Johnson, Libertarian Party candidate for president in Colorado, is at 16% in one poll. Is that right?
Right.
I mean, at that point, that brings him into the potential of getting into major debates with the other two. There is no more beatable U.S. Senate candidate than the one you guys are going against. Michael Bennet was seen as perhaps the only Republican pickup in the entire country. Darrell Glenn is, I think, just an incredible guy, and I like him. He has not been able to pull in the RNC for his funding. Hillary has said, "I'm not worrying about Colorado. We think we have it in the bag." So they're moving someplace else. Right. Do you think this brings you guys the attention you need?
Well, I think it's a game changer if Gary Johnson can get into the presidential debate. As I said, for many years that lots of Americans are libertarian in heart. They just don't know it because the two-party monopoly system wants to keep competition out. They want to keep me out, and I get lots of rude treatments on the campaign trail to drop out, and I'm irrelevant. Of course, I always stand firm for myself. I say, well, I'm doing this for the cause. I'm doing this also to share my message of libertarianism with American people. What happened to me in China could happen to you in this country if we don't become vigilant, active citizens. I believe what libertarians can win, and this is an exciting year for us. And I agree with what Arn said about, like the war and stuff. And Americans resonate with us on wars.
What's the difference between the two of you in general? In that I'm hearing both of you scream about what seems like a crooked, rigged cronyistic system that's in power now. But really, I'm beyond that. I hear both seem to be socially accepting. That is, I don't see much differences there. But I see a huge difference when it comes to the regulatory state, the tax state, and environmental regulation. Is that the difference?
Well, we're not going to have the time to get into everything. But first of all, I ran a for-profit business, I ran a nonprofit business, and I served as an Eagle County Commissioner. So I understand all three sectors of the economy. I've worked in it. I'm experienced in it. I know how to create jobs, as people say. The other part is I have a master's in business administration, and I've been back and forth to Washington, D.C. for the past 15 years. I've spent a lot of time there. We're Lily and I, who we've talked to one another about a dozen times now. We get along great. And Michael Bennett's a wonderful person, and I haven't met Daryl Glenn. But the bottom line here is we're spending $1 trillion a year on national security, state, and the military. We have 800 bases around the world. This is an empire. The rest of the countries around the world have 30 bases. We need to get the money where all these cronies are spending their money, and we need to bring it back and either give it back to the American people or spend it on the things that make America great.
30 seconds left. Tell me, what is it that makes you different?
Well, I lived through communist China. I know central planning economy does not work. I think we have the same kind of issues with the ones he mentioned, but our difference is really economical side. What is the right approach to solve all our problems in great ways? My approach is free market and also encourage free enterpriseship. And I think a Green Party is probably on economic side. They want more government interference. So that's our difference.
I wish you both luck. Lily, thank you. Arn, thank you. Listen for me
me
on K-How Radio, and tell a friend. We'll see you next week.